Well, well, well. If it isn't another episode in the WoW Token Challenge, we are still in Durotar, and I promise you guys we will be here for a while longer because even though the grind never stops, the grind is everlasting. At least that's what it seems like. But anyway, we have done a couple of interesting things since the last episode, and before I really get started, in the process of trying to, well, turn out as much gold as possible, I'll be going over a couple of the things that we have done. The main thing, as some of you may be able to see, depending on where you are watching this from, I am level 54. Now, the way that I've gotten to level 54 is that I went into Ogrimmar and I went over to Chromie and I talked to Chromie to enter a time walking campaign. And what that did is that changed Durotar's level range, the scaling for it, to 1 to 71. And the good thing about that is that some of the rewards that we have been getting are worth a little bit more. And we're also getting a little bit more in terms of raw gold. Now, it's not a big difference, but it is very exciting to see the levels go up, so it makes it a little more fun, for me at least. But that is one thing. And then also, whenever we get greens, if we end up vendoring them, because some of them don't have much value on the auction house, so they might actually be worth it to just straight up vendor. So again, this is awesome to see. For now, we have 8,924 gold in our mailbox, which is actually, you know, a pretty decent amount of gold. Nothing really that stands out. But we, as you can see here, we have some handful of copper bolts, we have some alabaster pigments, and then, you know, a bunch of other small herbs, herb sales actually, and some material sales, and then there's some vendor materials as well. I think there is like 1 or 2, maybe 3 transmog pieces out here. You can see there's a linen shirt here, there's a bouquet of white roses, there's an herbalist spade. And then I think I saw one more. Oh yeah, the practice sword, right? Which is a good one, 379 gold. And then you see here the arc light spanner. Now I can actually go pick up another one of these. So the arc light spanner is the engineering tool. Now we picked this up in the last episode, if I can remember correctly. Where the here we go. So as you can see, I have some metal in my inventory. The arc light spanner is right here. 8 silver and 53 copper. That is all that it cost us, and we had the opportunity to sell one of these for 400 gold. Now, I actually already put one on here. I guess I forgot about that, but that is really, really awesome to see. 400 gold, obviously with minus the auction house cut, is amazing to see on something like that. So again, that's why I bought it. That's why I'm really happy about that. And we also have some of the other ones, but I haven't seen any of those sell just yet. But we're going to go ahead and loot this, and then we can keep a fresh track of what we have. To show you guys a little bit about what we actually have on the auction house, because I have posted some of the stuff. We actually have some more sales here. We have about 73,000 in value. Now you can see I have this little loot appraiser window up here. If you guys want this add-on, it's called Loot Appraiser Reloaded. It basically tracks what you're farming within a certain time frame, however long you want to do it, and it also has the opportunity to sell some trash and destroy some trash if you don't have add-ons for that. And it's awesome because you can keep track of how long you're spending on something, and then that also keeps track of, you know, how much it is, and it gives you a gold per hour possibility and things like that, which is good. And one of the items that we actually got from this was ancestral boots, and we also got the Charger's shield. Now these two don't have, you know, super high sell rates, but it is an opportunity for people to buy this. And I think what I will be doing is probably posting these closer to the region sale average, or maybe even a little bit below, so we can get some quick sales, which is something that we really like. We really want that, if we can get some quicker sales on these, because items like these with a 0.0 something sell rate can take weeks, if not months, to sell. So it's not really something that we can actually rely on. Not that I think anyway. But we also do have some more materials. We actually have some copper ore, you know, almost 600 pieces there. And it's a little spread out all over the place. But still, it's good value. And we're up to 12,000 gold now. And then depending on how much of this sells, we'll be up to even more. Something that has been a pretty big talking point in the last couple of episodes, especially in the comments from you guys, is whether or not we should allow Ragefire Chasm. Because comparatively, Durotar, well, if you compare it to Elwyn, there are some differences that we don't have the advantage of really taking good use of. We have the opportunity to currently just farm, you know, ore and or herbs. And then otherwise, we can farm the gray and white and green transmog loot table that's available from the rares and the regular humanoids, and also just whatever else mobs that exist in the zone. And that's about it. Because the really interesting transmog farms, well, in some of the lower level zones, exist in, for example, Northern Barrens. So after we've gotten close to this entire loot table, which, by the way, we're getting pretty close to it, we can't really farm any more transmog, right? At that point, we're just getting duplicates, so that makes it kind of useless to kill the rares and the mobs, which means we only have the opportunity to farm materials. So, here's my thing. To make it a little bit more interesting, I think it's only fair if we open up for Ragefire Chasm. Now, I will be telling you guys right now, obviously, Ragefire Chasm also has a limited loot table, so it's not like we can really farm this forever, and there aren't really any particular pieces in here that will sell absolutely instantly. So this doesn't mean that we won't have to go out and farm our regular materials and do our shuffling in between the professions. We absolutely will, but we're going to open up for the opportunity to do Ragefire Chasm because it is in Orgrimmar, which is also technically in Durotar, and that is pretty much the only reason why I want to allow it. Now, we are going to do it out of Chromie time, because then that means we don't have to queue up with other people, because if we did it currently in Chromie time, we would have some real issues with trying to complete this dungeon without any help, especially with our current gearing position. Now, it is a quick dungeon, so we can't infinitely farm this on one character. So I will be doing 10 runs of Ragefire Chasm, and then I'll be getting back to you guys on what we have then. And then I'll also show you how fast we actually completed the dungeon, because then in the downtime until the dungeon resets for the hour, we can actually go outside and farm some materials. So I'll get back to you guys after an hour. We have done 1 hour, well, 43 minutes of Ragefire Chasm. I actually do think without vendoring times and, you know, if we perfect a route a little bit more, we can probably get this number down to 30, well, between 30 to 35 minutes, which is really good. Something that I do have to keep in mind is that I can only do 10 of these within 1 hour. So if I do it in 30 to 35 minutes, I have to figure something else out that I want to do for 25 to 30 minutes. Now, my plan is we do 10 runs of Ragefire Chasm, and then I run out into Durotar, and I make a rotation of the rares that I usually kill. And within that time, I'll also be picking up the copper and all of the herbs, and that is going to be the rotation. Now, I plan on doing this for an unknown amount of time for this particular episode, so I'll be getting back to you guys once I've done a, as I just said, unknown amount of farming. We'll see how much I get done. And then I'll show you the auction house value, and then we'll also go over any sales that we potentially have at that point. And then I'll also show you the slash played. I can actually show it to you guys right now. We are currently at 16 hours and 51 minutes. So on the other side of this, you guys will have an idea of how much time I've spent doing that farming rotation. But that is pretty much what we're going to be doing, so let's get straight to it. Oh, and before I do, just to give you guys an idea of the items that I've picked up, you can see here I actually have vendored some of them if their value was too low or if I don't like the sell rate. But I actually want to give pretty much every single transmog item an opportunity to be sold on the auction house, because we could get lucky and sell it within a couple of posts, and I actually think that's super worth it, even if it's only like 50 gold. So we're gonna pretty much post everything. You see some of these for 10 and 21 gold. If they don't sell within, you know, 1 or 2 posts, we're probably just going to vendor them. But we'll give them a chance. Some of them have decent sell rates, so we'll be full sending it. But as you can see, it's nothing super valuable in particular. There are a couple of pieces out in Durotar that we can get if we're super lucky. So in the process of doing our farming trips, I really hope that we get some of those so we can fill that on the auction house. But I'm gonna post this up and I'll get straight to farming. We have farmed a considerable amount of hours. You saw last time when I did my slash played, you saw that it was close to, I think it was 17 hours. And now you can see that we are at 1 day and 4 minutes. Now, we've done quite a lot of farming in both Ragefire Chasm, but also when it comes to a little bit of open world farming. Now, right before we walk over to the auction house and I show you guys how much it is, I want to show you guys like the process of me running around in here in Ragefire Chasm, just in case some of you guys haven't seen it before, but also so you can kind of get an idea of what items drop in here. Now, in the time that I have been farming this, I have gotten close to every single green drop and gray and white piece of gear that you can actually get. We also did get some gear upgrades, but they don't matter much until we move back out, well, back into Chromie time again. But we still did get a couple of pieces that were nice upgrades. So this is a very linear dungeon. There's not really many routes that you can take. You can obviously speedrun it a little bit more if, you know, I use Aspect of the Cheetah and Disengage, but it's not really a big deal. There is one little thing that you can save a lot of time on doing when you run through this dungeon. It's right here. And I'm going to do the full rotation through the dungeon that I do. If you guys have any better ideas, be sure to let me know. But I think I've actually gotten to the point that I have at least one, if not two or more, of almost every single item in here. So what we really have to do now is wait for sales, which is not a problem, because in the time of us waiting for sales, we can obviously just do material farming, which we have done while waiting for the dungeons to reset every hour. So almost at the end here. It's a very short dungeon, and we did actually get the time that we can do 10 runs down to about, I want to say, a little under 40 minutes. We had a little over 20 minutes of farming outside in the open world before we moved back into the dungeon again. Great. Now I think that I think we might actually be able to see how many runs we did in statistics. Let's take a look. Yes, here we go. So as you can see, we did 50 runs. We killed the last boss, which is this guy right here, Lava Guard Gordov. You can see now we have killed him 51 times. We click back and forth. You can see that has now updated. We've done 51 runs in here, which is great. Good amount. We got a new green actually here that we don't have. That's wonderful. That might pop up every once in a while, so I think I'm still gonna move in here and do some more runs every once in a while, but I don't want to do it too much because we are getting a lot of duplicates, and I don't need a bunch of stuff that I have, you know, 7, 8, or 9, or even more versions of. It's not really needed. But we will take some of these pieces that we don't have yet, which is great. It's very rare to see because I haven't seen that in a bit. But again, this is what we do. We run back out. There are opportunities that you can do normally with pre-made groups here, and then you can start a group and leave it because that gives you a graveyard timer. But then you have to worry about getting put, like, timing the dungeon properly. So I just do the run back out. It's not a big deal. Do a little disengage over there if you're a hunter, or if you have any... If you have about, I want to say, 80% movement speed or something like that, or some sort of a leap, you can actually make that jump pretty easily. But that's what I do to save a decent amount of time. But that's the entire run. That's all it is. And then the things that I don't want to keep, I mark them with Peddler, my trash vendoring add-on. And the rest that I want to keep, I go into my TSM group that I have, and I add it to the posting operation, and then we add it on the auction house. Now, whenever my bags were full, I just walked straight over here. There's a mushroom vendor. And you can actually just vendor to this guy, which was really easy. So we didn't have to run like super far to be able to, you know, actually vendor. So we could sort that out pretty quick since we can't mount inside the dungeon. And we also don't have any vendoring mounts. So that's very, very nice. Now, I'll show you guys a little bit of what we have posted. And then we can look at the mailbox of the sales that we currently have and the progress so far in the challenge. So on the auction house, we currently have 174,470 gold in value. Now, you have to take this value with a little bit of a grain of salt, okay? Because every single one of these greens and grays don't necessarily have the value that they are posted for. I do post these at whatever the minimum price is. I'm going to do that a couple of times, and if they don't end up selling, or if there's a lot of competition on the markets, which is other people posting above me, well, then I might drop the price a little bit, because we're not looking for, you know, we're not going we're not going at it for the long run, right? We are, but also at the same time, we're not. We don't want to be around in Durotar for too long. So if we can make some quick gold and move on, that is going to be what we want. If we had some really super rare big ticket items and they didn't have a lot of competition, it would be, well, it'd be worth a little bit more to keep the price pretty high. But a lot of these items, since they're pretty easy to get, have a decent amount of competition. So we might drop the price on some of it, but some of them are very reasonable prices, which is awesome. Now, we haven't sold too many of these items just yet because it hasn't been too long since we actually had these, and we also need to be able to repost on the auction house and also have it be over a couple of days. But the more you have, the higher your chances of selling something are, which is great. And I believe there's also some materials somewhere on here. Yeah, we do have some copper bars, as you can see, 845, which is wonderful. That's the amount that we were able to farm. And we also did have some herbs, but I'm pretty sure it looks like those sold. So, but that's okay. We have a very good amount of stock on here. So we're going to keep farming on Ragefire Chasm in the next episode, which is going to be great. But we don't really have access to more than Ragefire Chasm, and there's still a lot of the open world drops that we can get access to. So while we're out farming, we might do a couple of hours of farming, you know, herbs and ore, and then also killing some mobs on rotation, and then we go back and do 10 runs of Ragefire Chasm, check the auction house, see if anything needs to be reposted, and then we go back out straight to farming again. We want to actually, as much as possible, we want to be out there farming to build up our stock on the auction house, but also just to continue getting the more consistent gold, which is the materials. But let's check out the gold that we have in the mailbox. As you can see, this is over a couple of days here, which is, it makes sense. That's how the challenge is recorded, because it's a lot of hours. But we have 9,239 gold. As you can see, the big ticket items are, again, the materials. We have some copper ore, we have some earth roots, we have some copper ore again. Then actually, as you can see here, we sold a gateway control shard. Now, I did see this gateway control shard on one of the vendors. I don't actually remember how much we bought it for, but I'm glad that sold that quickly. And we also sold a beaded cord, which is one of the white items, and same thing with the nomad bands, the hunting boots, the calico bracers, and then a common gray shirt, which we crafted in tailoring. Awesome to see. Do we have any others? Some copper chain boots that was crafted in blacksmithing. And then up here, you can see that we have a soldier's cloak, which is one of the white items. We have a gun here. Gray item we bought off a vendor, I think. Maybe it's a white item. I don't remember. Then we have beaded cuffs here again for 700 gold. It's quite wonderful. And then the other ones are more materials, as you can see. And then we sold a copper rod, which is another one of the, what do you call them? The profession tools that we can buy off the vendors here. So we have two purchases. We need a gateway control shard and a copper rod. But as you can see, the gray items and the white items are selling. They're not selling very quickly, and they're not selling for a stupid amount of gold, but it is gold and we will take it. So that brings us up to, let's see. Oh, and that's something that I forgot to say. In Ragefire Chasm, when we do 10 runs and we vendor everything, we get somewhere between 600 to 800 raw gold, which is a nice bonus for doing those 10 runs and getting all the, the grays and white items. It's super wonderful. But we are up to 24,412 gold, so we're making pretty decent progress. We are still very, very far away, but that is completely fine. We can actually check what the token's at right now. I have no idea. 349k. So we're still pretty far away. That is still, what, 4, 8, 12. That's still, we still need 14 times the amount that we actually have in our bags right now. As for the slash plate, as you saw that earlier, obviously we didn't farm for the entire 24 hours. We've been going really hardcore in the last 6. So if you take that with a grain of salt, and we say the last 6 we actually made that 10k, but we also grew the stock on the auction house by quite a high amount. The amount of gold that we've made is pretty awesome. Oh, here it is. As you can see, we bought the gateway control shard here for 135 gold, and we sold it on the auction house for 475. It did sell for 500, which is why well, it's 475 minus the auction house cost, something like that. Right now, it's 230 gold on the auction house, so there's still some profit to be made. So we are buying ourselves a new one. And then the other one that we needed to purchase a new one off was enchanting. Now, I kind of forgot where enchanting is, because I am not in this city a lot anymore, so sometimes I forget the locations. Good thing is we can ask the guard. So enchanting is where? Oh, yeah. The other section. Further down. Go grab it up. It is only a couple hundred gold, but when we are in the position that we're at right now, we are taking the gold that we can get, right? We're paying 1 silver for it, and we turn it into 285 gold. It's absolutely wonderful. So, awesome. No complaints there. We will also be taking the strange dust and the lesser magic essence, because why not? It will sell, and we will make some profit on it. Then we also have the opportunity to buy some simple wood here. Right now it's posted for about 9 silver, and the region average daily sold is about 19,000. So a lot of people are buying this. So we're going to go ahead and buy about 200 of this, because why not? Take a little bit of gold. Then we have starwood. That's not really worth it. You can see the minimum buyout is about 30 silver. We can purchase it for 40. That does not seem worth it. As for these other recipes, I mean, yeah, you know what? We can pick these up. They're only silver and they sell for gold. Why not? And that is about it. So we'll go over and post this up on the auction house. And again, we're up to about 180k, and with a grain of salt, it might be a little less than what the auction house says, which, it's a part of what collecting transmog means. But even if this was 100k, and you look at the amount of time that we've actually spent farming, it's a wonderful number. Things need to sell, and in the time that we need to wait on things to sell, we're going to be spending that time on, you guessed it, farming materials. So that is most likely what we're going to do in episode 4. But this is about everything that I had for episode 3. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I've seen all the love and enjoyment of the first 2 episodes. And if there's anything in particular that you might want me to check out or look at, I'd love to do that when we actually get to it. I have been around the corner of pretty much all the professions and what we can actually get out of them currently, at least in this zone. So I don't think we have many other opportunities besides what we've seen so far in the other episodes. So right now, the plan is obviously to repost on the auction house as much as possible, farm as many materials as we can, because we got to grow that gold number by quite an astonishing amount. And then we need to continue farming Ragefire Chasm a little bit so we can make sure that we have close to absolutely everything that we can get. And again, we also need to farm a little bit more in the open world because there's still some drops that we don't have. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I'm already working on episode 4. But before we actually end up the video completely, make sure that you guys check out Gold Kept in the description down below the video. I might also have a pinned comment. If you check my link in particular, you can get yourself a little bit of a discount on your first month of subscribing to Gold Kept. It's a bunch of different guides through the membership on the website, and you also get access to our Discord server, where you can talk to not only us, but also the rest of the community about everything gold making. And this goes for all versions of the game, and I know a lot of you guys have been talking about Cataclysm Classic and Mob Classic coming up soon, but also some of the other versions like Hardcore Classic and Anniversary and whatever else. And then there's Retail, of course. So if any of that interests you, and or if you just want to support me a little bit on top of what you guys are already doing with the likes and the subscribes and the comments, make sure to check that out. But that's about everything that I have for this video. So until the next episode, see ya!